Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Octopod, South Wales' leading content creation and podcast studio. Octopod helps creators, businesses, and founders record high-quality podcasts and content all under one roof. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or need space to do so, Octopod is the place to do it. Find out more at octopodstudio.co.uk or message them to book in your session. Hello and welcome to Cocktails with James. And no, not cocktails like the drink such as your espresso martinis or your porn star martinis. Cocktails as in your stories, my stories, and everything else in between. This podcast is going to be a safe space for you, your friends, even your mum if she wants to listen to a couple of scandalous stories about dating, what it's like to be gay, and even if your ex-husband turned out to be gay and you got 3 kids and you don't know what to do, this is going to be the place for you. From beauty creators to skincare influencers and even real life professionals who are going to teach you how to manage your skincare and tell you exactly how you can make your penis bigger. This is going to be anything and everything for you. So if you want to send in a scandalous story, listen to a scandalous story, or just listen to what my life has been like and how I've got to where I am, make sure that you listen to Cocktails with James every week for some new fun, new confessions, new scandal, and a whole lot of heart. And remember, this is a safe place for you and me. And today we're 10 cocktails deep. And if you didn't get what that meant, we are 10 episodes in. And obviously you might realize the setting is very much different. And you heard at the top of the episode that I am obviously in Octopod Studios in Newport, which is a great experience to have, obviously for the 10th episode of Cocktails with James. And today's episode, I really want it to be all about you, the listeners, because you've all wrote in some absolutely crazy stuff about yourselves, and you've asked me some really interesting questions, which I'm going to answer. And I do actually have a live audience here today. There's only 2 of them, but that's the more audience than I've ever had before. So hopefully I'm not going to scare anyone off from recording. Yeah, like I said, today is all about you. And I have got just at the top of the episode, I want to tell you a story that happened to me this week. It was obviously, as I always do, I go on dates with men, as I love to do. Still trying to find my number one, but it hasn't happened. So just to sort of give you a good feel about it, it was to do with a married man. So essentially, I was talking to this guy on a dating app, we'll call it. It was Grindr, as we always are. We're always on Grindr. And we were chatting away. It was quite a good conversation. So we agreed to meet up for a coffee, which was, quite above the belt for Grindr. If anyone knows Grindr, it's all about below the belt, if I'm completely honest. So we met up for a coffee, and the first thing I noticed when he sits down is that he had a wedding ring on. Now, I'm not going to lie, like a lot of men who are in relationships, whether they're straight or gay, do frequent Grindr, and they do love a hookup from time to time, but never like a coffee date. So at first I was really confused. So I was like, first thing I said to him was, what is that ring on your finger? And he was like, oh, it's my wedding ring. So the first thing that obviously popped into my head was obviously he's in an open relationship, not again, being in too many of these situations. So I just sort of grilled the man, I'm not going to lie. And I was like, so who was it? I said, male, female. And it turned out to actually be female. So he had a wife back at home. And I don't know how I ended up finding out, but we got onto the topic of conversation that he actually had 3 kids at home as well. So the date went from literally being sat down together for 10 minutes to me basically giving a bit of a grill and asking him, does he not feel guilty? The fact that he's obviously on a date with a guy, so he doesn't know, he's obviously trying to figure out his sexuality, which is fine. Everyone is in some sort of stage in their life trying to figure that out, But at the same time, why would you be out in public on a date with a guy? So we didn't even have a coffee. It just sort of ended really awkwardly where I said, I think you should sort of have a bit of a reality check and go home and talk to your wife that you might actually be gay. And he blocked me straight away. So that was really, really fun. But I'm just not down for it anymore, having these conversations or having these straight men coming in trying to, fulfill their fantasies over coffee. That's the new one for me. Has that ever happened to any of you? No comment. On a gay date. Yeah, on a gay date. But yeah, I'm just not going to be a home wrecker. I've been in a situation when I was much younger where I just thought, oh, well, I'll get what I want. I'll get my judge, lived out my own fantasies. But obviously the older I've gotten, the more respect I've gotten for myself and other people who, get hurt in these situations. So I just thought, not today. We're not having that. And on that topic of just sort of growing and maturing, why is it whenever you speak to somebody on any sort of dating app or even social media, the first thing they want to do is talk about dropping their pants and showing you a dick pic? Literally last night, right, some person was messaging me, it was a really nice conversation. I even sent him a picture of himself on his Instagram and said, oh, you look really nice here. This is a really nice picture of you. And from that, he was like, oh, you should see what I look like when I drop my pants. And I was like, well, no, I don't want to see that. This is not what this conversation's doing. Let's keep it PG. And he literally messaged me then straight after going, oh, it's 9:01, so it's no more point in being PG anymore. But I thought, fair, that's quite fun, but it's not my bag, you know. I just don't do that anymore. I'm not that bothered. But that was sort of the week of the two men, which is it's just annoying. People are annoying. Men are annoying. Straight men, I think, just need to do a little bit better, if I'm completely honest. Okay, so that was all I want to talk about was me. Also, just say big thank you to everybody who has been listening, sharing the podcast, following, and leaving the reviews and the feedback. 10 weeks ago started it, and here we are in a nice little studio for a sponsorship, which is really cool. So it's always good. So if you have any goals or dreams and you think, let's just give something a go, you never know where it's going to take you, and just prepare and enjoy the journey as opposed to what the end goal is going to be. So I just want to say thank you to everyone listening. Anyway, this is all about you. So we're going to pull up some confessions. I'm going to break it down into some quick fire cocktails, which is some things you've said to me, potentially about me or about yourselves. And then we've got some quite deep confessionals that we're going to sort of break down and go into, because these are probably the wildest ones I've had so far. And I really hope you stay and listen for all of it, because it is, in my mind, they are quite iconic. So I'm going to just pull them up on my phone now really, really quickly. I'm going to try and ease you all in, to be completely honest. Here we go. I'll ease you in with this one. By the way, is swearing and everything okay? I can carry on. Okay. So ease you in nice with this one. This is what I had messaged in, last week, about me asking if I'm a prostitute. He said, are you a prostitute? I think you fucked my husband. So, and that was before I went on a date with a married man. So that could be anyone saying that. That could be from a few months ago or a few years ago. And if it was me, I am sorry, but your husband's in the wrong, because I'm still very much happily single. So it's more him. But unfortunately, I didn't make any money, so you can't say that I'm a prostitute. So yeah, it's not going to get any better from there, to be fair. Someone asked, what are my red flags on a first date? Red flags on a first date, I think, is very much just using insults as humor, because I think it just sort of shows what they actually thought of you as like the initial thought process. Like I get it all the time where people try and say, like, as a joke, oh, I thought you were going to be such a dickhead because of how you are on social media, or because of what you look like, but you're actually a really nice person. Like, that's not a very nice thing to say to someone you've met for the first time, is it? Like, that's just a big no from me. But yeah, what else have we got? Power bottom or power verse? Neither. Unless you want to find out, that's your choice. Does your mum know that you give blowjobs for gym memberships? Funnily enough, she does, and she really does support that process. I'm going to the gym for a very long time. I actually work in the fitness industry now as well, so it's actually helped me get a job or two in the fitness industry, being a fitness instructor. So if you're local to Newport and you go to any gyms, you never know if I've sucked the manager off or not. That is a complete lie. They're all female. So, you're both okay, by the way. You're both all right, okay. Do I have OnlyFans, and if not, why? OnlyFans is a funny one, isn't it? Like, I think, like anything these days, it's a very convoluted thing. Everyone is doing OnlyFans, and I personally don't feel the need to do that. I don't need to do it for income. I also, for things I want to do in life, as opposed to social media, having OnlyFans isn't necessarily a thing that's looks good on the CV, and anyone could look at it, anyone could subscribe to it. If my mum or dad really wanted to see what I was getting up to on OnlyFans, they could pay £10 a month to see what their son's getting up to, and that's something I don't really want to get into. No respect to everybody who does it. Like, if you want to make money in any way, shape or form, you've got the confidence to do it, please go and do that and make as much coin as possible. I did have a stripper come up to me a few weeks ago, actually, and accuse me of something, and she even accused of giving me a lap dance, and I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not in a, I'm gay, I've never stepped foot in a strip club, but do whatever you want to do to get your coin. But she was adamant. She gave me a lap dance, which was quite an interesting conversation at 10 o'clock in the morning in the gym. So her boyfriend was stood there as well, and also was not doing much to add to that conversation. Okay. I'm a straight cis woman, but want to tell you that I think of you when I'm shagging my husband. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. Single by choice or what? Yes, very much single by choice. It's not that I don't want to be in a relationship. It's more that I haven't found the right person that I want to invest my time in. And I personally feel like if you go from person to person or relationship to relationship, you kind of leave a little piece of you in that person. And if I'm completely honest, that's not what I want to do. And you might get a little bit of, depending on how the relationship goes, you could get a little bit of trauma from each person, which changes you over time. And I think when you finally find that person, there's a lot to deal with to break down any of those walls or barriers that you might have to, your forever love, for example, if they are out there, that it's better to just be single and content in your own peace, in your own space, as opposed to finding yourself in other people, because that's you're never going to find yourself really in somebody like that, I personally feel like. So no, single by choice, purely because I had one awful relationship, which has been like 4 years to get over. So I'd rather just make sure I find the right person at the right time for all the right reasons, as opposed to it being situational and making sure, I've got someone I can take to Christmas Day dinner. I don't need that. I'm very much content on my own. I've seen your Grindr album, start OnlyFans. Okay, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Okay, so someone asked a very interesting question. It's just interesting to break down. They said, what is your waist size and body weight? You seem so body confident for a bigger guy, especially in the gay community. What's my secret? I don't know. I've just always been a pretty confident person. I mean, I've worked on myself physically and mentally for a long time to get into the space, to have the confidence to be how I am online and how I present myself in life. But I don't know, I guess is that more of a stigma to being a bigger guy in the community, as opposed to how I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm very strong. I'm not like, I don't look like an athlete as such, but I don't look unhealthy either. So it's just how I choose to live my life and present myself. So I think it's a bit of a strange backhanded compliment, which I don't know if I appreciate or not. Like back in school, I was very much the bigger boy in terms of how I looked physically. And obviously I was 6'4" when I was like 15. So I towered above everybody else, but I was also much bigger than I am now as well. So I got bullied for that in school. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so confident now in how I am and who I am, because of the work I've done to get to where I am in terms of how I feel. So I guess that's where the confidence comes from, as opposed to needing to have abs to be confident. Yeah. So I appreciate the question. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's do one more. Okay, two more questions. Daddy or bears? Daddies always. And then we've got one more. Let's do one more. Okay, there's actually so many questions. I can't answer all these though. Another one said about confidence is fire. Thank you so much. I'm wondering who's writing these in though about confidence, because I don't know. Message me if you have wrote this in, because it'd be really interesting to understand your thought process behind the confidence that you see, because I would love to understand that. Oh, okay, I'll do this as the last one, and then we'll go on to the confessions. Do I think looks matter more than personality? No, not really. It's like that quote from RuPaul's Drag Race, isn't it? Beauty fades, dumb is forever. You could keep your personality forever, and no matter how much money you spend on yourself, unless you are Kris Jenner at 75 having a $300,000 facelift, it's going to be very different. But looks fades, and you can start to love someone more for their personality than as opposed to how they actually look anyway. So I think if you're leading first with how people look, which is, we're all guilty of it, especially in the day and age of dating apps and having like such a capacity of people to swipe right or swipe left on that. You instantly think, oh, I won't like them, I don't like them, just based on how they look. But personality, 100%. If someone can make you laugh, and if they're emotionally intelligent as well and they really get you, and sometimes it would be nice to have somebody where they get you based on just how your mood is, as opposed to you having to tell them how you're feeling. I think that's much more of a safer space than having somebody who is super, super attractive but doesn't get you as a person. Those are the little bits and bobs that you've all sent in, like one-liners. So now what I really want to do is go into some of the confessions that you've sent in, which I think are wild. So I want to start with, there was one about RuPaul's Drag Race. So I'm going to try and find that one first, because that's quite iconic, to be fair. Oh, here we go. So right, so here we go. A RuPaul Drag Race US judge slipped into my DMs and we spoke for a few months on and off, and he asked to meet me in London. I live in Scotland. He paid for my flight and we spent a weekend together and had sex. And he then ghosted me after I said I wouldn't take a job as a PA for him. Now, if that's not a confession, a scandalous confession, I don't know what is, because that's given tea about RuPaul's Drag Race US. Now, my brain instantly goes to who could that be? Because it was Ross Matthews or Carson Kressley, the only two mainstream judges, unless it was RuPaul himself. So I would love a follow-up to this anonymous with maybe a couple of more clues as to who that actually is, because why would they need a PA from Scotland if they're like traveling the world in the US? I don't get that, unless they wanted a PA with extras, which I'm assuming that's what they were going to ask you for. But quite iconic. That's a very big slay confession. I really do appreciate that. Probably one of the biggest ones I've had, to be fair. Here we go. So I've read this one before, so I'm going to caveat this by saying I'm not sure if this is going to be 100% true, but we'll break it down anyway. My boyfriend and I plan to get married, but money's been tight. I spoke with his dad and he said, I can't say it. He said, if I promise to blow him at the wedding reception, he will pay for the lot. What do I do? Do I tell my boyfriend, or is it just a trap? Please help me, James. Now, I'm not going to lie, I probably think this might be some sort of joke. However, this is true for whatever your situation is. It depends how big you want the wedding, if you want your marriage to last at the same time. Like, if he's going to pay for everything and there's no budget, no expense spared, I mean, what's 30 seconds on the knees going to do for a lifetime of happiness and memories to look back at for those amazing photos at your wedding? So I would say, if you feel comfortable, you can sleep on that for the rest of your life with whoever your husband is, and you can look your father-in-law in the future across that dinner table over Christmas, Easter, whatever, birthdays. Absolutely go for it. Have that Bridgerton wedding. I personally wouldn't. I don't think I could do it, but depending on the budget of the wedding, needs must at this day and age. Okay, this is an interesting one. Back to fitness. I started working out 3 days a week and have a personal trainer. I'm starting to fall from my PT and I'm in a relationship. I think this is such a common thing in the industry because PTs have this way of bringing out the best in you in terms of how you feel physically and mentally. Like, they're your cheerleaders whenever you are in the gym, whether it's online or actually in person. They help you become like a better version of yourself, which is a great thing and a great job to have. But people get overly attached to their personal trainers, and that is purely because of how, like I said, they make you feel. And I think you need to differentiate between what you're doing for yourself physically and mentally, as opposed to the impact you could have on your life if you were to pursue anything with the PT. Obviously, the PT could literally just keep it professional and say no, but a lot of PTs do pursue their clients as well. So that could be a really interesting dynamic. You never know, you get some free PT sessions and burn some extra calories along the way. However, I would say if you are in a happy relationship, I would just steer clear, maybe find another personal trainer. And if you are having these thoughts, maybe you could have that open and honest conversation with whoever your partner is and just say, I'm having these feelings. Because maybe there's a lot more underlying than you actually think in your relationship to have those feelings for your personal trainer. But I get it. It's hard. PTs can be captivating.
So far, you've all given me some amazing things to talk about. It's been quite fun. I'm not sure how you're all feeling about what we've spoken about for so far. So make sure that when you are listening, leave a comment or a review, by the way, to say what you thought was been the most scandalous thing so far, or even write in and let me know your thoughts on the process, or even write in and let me know your thoughts on the podcast, because these have probably been some of the most wildest confessions I've had so far, and even some of the one-liners that has been written in about me. So do what you can. Give me a message if you can, and obviously I want to know your thoughts on what we've spoken about so far. So this is like the tea. This is juice. This one coming in right now. Okay, so I've been having an affair with my best friend for 9 years now. Him and my boyfriend get on really well together. My best mate got a boyfriend last year. Now all three of us sleep together, and my boyfriend still has no clue. Just gonna wait for the gasp in the audience. There we go. Literally, this is just welcome to the gay community, isn't it? Essentially, that's wild. So to break it down, so you and your best friend have been sleeping together. But you and his best friend have been sleeping together, and they now have a relationship. And now all of you have threesomes, and your boyfriend has no idea. I mean, you might as well have that conversation at this point in time, because all I would say is be careful of the person that you're going to hurt in the long run. Obviously, it could get very messy at some point. Someone can get really upset in this threesome situation and end up telling your boyfriend what you're getting up to. And I think that is really, you're playing with fire essentially. So be careful of what you do. And I get it, like the thrill and the fun and of whatever you're getting up to, and like having like a dirty little secret is fun. However, the main thing is you're going to be hurting the person that you are with. So maybe have that conversation. And you never know, you know what the people in the community are like. So not all gays, some gays will probably be like, okay, well, let's just make it open before you end up breaking up anyway. So you might end up just being a foursome. Personally, but I would just say think about the emotional impact you're going to be having on the person that you're currently with, and the emotional impact you're having on yourself, because there must be some level of guilt. And if there's no level of guilt, then you're probably with the wrong person anyway, because you wouldn't want to hurt anyone if you really love them and you've been together that long. So yeah, have that conversation. I would have that conversation. Oh, okay. This one's about karma. Very interesting. A lot of cheating going on, which is to be expected. My ex-partner of 14 years was on Grindr when we were together, meeting up with boys, slept with his bosses as they were, again, in an open relationship. Shock horror. I left him when he was out. I've heard it's happened to him with his new boyfriend. I love the karma. We love a petty queen. You know, if what goes wrong comes around, doesn't it? So I hope you're in a better position than this guy is now, because I don't know how you could do that for, your ex-partner of 14 years. That's insane. And the open relationship with the bosses, like, did you all of a sudden realize he was getting like promotion after promotion after promotion from his bosses, and you're like, what's going on? He obviously isn't doing that good at his job. Because that would be my thought process. But good, we love a bit of karma. Okay, right. So I've got two more to go through. We'll do this one and then one more. So this is wild if this is true. I didn't. This is wild. Okay, I hired a homeless man to sit outside my boyfriend's flat to get me intel on who he was cheating on me with. Is that too much? Absolutely not. If you're becoming a PI, a PI, private investigator, to find out if your boyfriend is cheating on you, you've got to do what you got to do. And if you find out evidence, you're not doing anything wrong. If you then find out nothing is going on, there's obviously trust issues. So there's a conversation to be had. However, did the homeless man find out? One, was he cheating? Two, how were you paying him? Was it food? Like, was it actual money? Like, what were you helping him with? And secondly, or thirdly, did the boyfriend not think, who is this homeless man sitting outside my house every night from 9 o'clock at the night, Did what went down? So please write in again and give me a part 2 of this situation. And I want to know if you found out anything from him, or if he just was just doing what he could to take money off you. But that, again, you got to do what you got to do. And sometimes if you are being cheated on and you know what's happening, sometimes the psycho comes out on you, and you got to do what you got to do. There was a question about my ex relationship in here, which I want to talk about, which I'll see if I can find that for you guys now. Whilst we're reading this, someone did ask if I would ever be Bonnie Blue. No, can never do Bonnie Blue. Oh, here we go. Day one listener here. You mentioned your previous relationship, ex, on the podcast quite a lot. I would love to know more about your relationship history and to hear the backstory of what happened. So this will be the last one because this is probably going to go on for a little bit. So I'll try and give you a tip of the iceberg situation. So me and my ex-partner were together for, just over 4 years. And I came out for him. So I made sure we had a safe space essentially because his culture was very much was homophobic, so very much against anything LGBT and for religious reasons as well. So when we got together, I came out for him. And then it's just the relationship just sort of went on like a very toxic downward spiral of, I would say, control, cheating, narcissism. And it really like affected me for a very long time when it ended, purely because of how it ended. So it ended basically by me having to catfish him on Grindr and arrange for me as somebody else on Grindr and him to have a hookup to get the evidence that I needed to basically end the relationship. So literally one day someone sent me a picture of him on Grindr through someone else's Snapchat account. A very, very long story of how that came about. So instead of confronting him knowing that I was going to get a load of lies, I made a fake Grindr account with my best friend at the time, literally on Ridgeway, just during lockdown, and we had managed to find him on there. We had probably a 4-hour conversation, and I knew the things to say to him that would keep him involved in the conversation to meet up. But at the end, I didn't necessarily believe it was going to be him. So I ended up having this conversation, talking to him about specific things about what he was studying in uni and what I like in a guy, to basically keep him keen for the entire time. So the whole conversation ended up leading to, should we meet up? Should we meet up in a car park in lockdown? So my friend at the time was like, right, you know the information, you need to just sort of do what you need to do, deal with it, speak to him, and make sure, you say all the facts that you have. And I said, no, I don't know if it's him or not, because it's just his body. I knew what his body looks like. I take my friend comes with me in her car as opposed to mine, because obviously if we're having a hookup and he doesn't know it's me, he would have known my car. So we arrange the hookup, get to Morrison's car park in Spitty. It's like right. It's like I could do it. I feel like it all happened yesterday, to be fair. And we get there, park up. He messages me on Grindr saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna leave in like 10 minutes." So he calls me as myself, and we have this conversation. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to bed early. I'm gonna hopefully see you tomorrow. Love you lots, blah blah blah." So I just had a really relaxed conversation about how much I loved him and how much I can't wait to see him tomorrow, knowing full well he was prepping to leave to see said person on Grindr for a hookup. Anyway, 10 minutes later comes, I see his car rolling around the corner, so I know it's him. And at this point, my friend is pleading to please leave the car park because she didn't know what was going to happen. And I said, no, he needs to see who it is because we've gotten this far, we need to get further. I just need to get to the end of this now. Message him and say, get to this car. It's an Audi A1. It's blue, parked over here by a Land Rover. And at this point in time, this poor man was putting his Morrison shopping away in a Land Rover as well. He gets out of his car, walks over, and I see red. And I've never been so angry and demonic in my life. As I shot out of that car, I confronted him. I was screaming at him in the car park, calling him a lion, cheating, CUNT, or see you next Tuesday, and saying how much he's ruined my life over the last 4 years. And he ran away. He didn't even speak to me. He ran away, drove off, tried to call me to try and speak and tell me that it was because I said I didn't love him. Apparently I said that. That he was thought, I'll just find somebody else on Grindr for the night, basically. And all that. So once he drove off, I turned back around and this poor old man putting shopping away was just stood looking at me. So I made eye contact with this poor old man as he was putting his shopping away, after screaming and calling him all these things under the sun. I get in the car. My friend looks at me and goes to start crying. And I just look at her and say, am I crying? No. Why are you crying? So we leave the car park. And instead of just being able to go home and just process what had happened, we end up having a car chase around Newport for about 35 minutes trying to get away from him. He was cornering us in all these little corners, trying to just stop to have this conversation, to try and plead and say it wasn't what I thought it was, even though in the conversation on Grindr, he was talking about what he wanted to do and how much he was happy to go with the flow and do whatever he could in the car park. So, I had all the answers there. Managed to obviously get away, go home and figure out what had happened. But like that's the tip of the iceberg of the relationship. And there was a lot more to why it sort of transpired and ended, and a lot more toxic stuff happened. So it was a traumatic time in my life that took a lot from me, and then for me to get myself back, you know. So that's why I talk about it a lot, because of how triggering it is and could be. So that's basically the tip of the iceberg of the relationship. You're welcome. Once again, thank you all so much for writing in and sending in some of your probably the craziest confessions that I've had so far, some of the strangest and weirdest inquiries about myself to date as well, and also allowing me to talk openly about a traumatic time in my life and obviously listening. So I hope you enjoyed it. But again, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone writing in, listening, leaving all the feedback that you leave, and just saying how much you enjoy the episodes and taking part in this, you know, the journey of Cocktales with James. And I know it's a play on word of cocktails and the scandal and the drama, but there's so much more to the episodes, and I know you all take so much away from that, so I really do appreciate it. And it wouldn't exist without some of your unhinged stories and allowing me to be as unhinged as I want to be, and reciprocating that so warmly and welcomely. And again, it's just so much fun to get to do things like this. And again, I want to say one more big special thank you to Octopod for sponsoring today's episode of the podcast. Like I said, you can contact them for anything, whether it's going to be content creation, podcasting, even just having a creative space to work from, or even just having some guidance on how to do a podcast, because right now where I am feels amazing. I don't want to leave. So make sure you reach out to Octopod and get as much information from them as possible. So going from episode 10, we're going to be moving on to obviously episode 11. Next week's episode is going to be really interesting. So I actually take myself out of my podcast studio. I know I'm in a different one now, but we go on location. We're going to be on location to an aesthetics clinic in Cardiff, speaking to someone called Jamie. He has just opened a brand new aesthetics clinic in Cardiff. Now, the conversations we talk about are going to be quite informative, more about skincare for men, why men should, embrace wanting to get some treatment done for themselves. But we also talk about men in America who are also getting filler in their penis. So that is really, really interesting and really, really fun. And I had no idea about it. So I've been very informed and very, very educated. And I know you're probably thinking, can you make it longer? No, just thicker. But we talk about that. And we also talk about hole talks as well. So, if you need to make your bum hole tighter, you can also do that with Jamie, potentially. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow the podcast. Make sure you reach out to Octopod if you need to, and find anything else out about them as well. And follow Cocktales with James, follow my personal Instagram and TikTok as well. All the details will be in the description, and information about Octopod will be in the description of the podcast below, and also all over the social media posts about today's episode. So once again, thank you so much for listening to Cocktales with James. This has been episode 10. Can't wait to see you at episode 11.